I'm Zach Martin on Tick TV. We have great guests today. I mean, it's amazing that I was able to book you guys. I know that we planned this weeks in advance, but thank you so much for taking your time. Giorgia, Vanni, as well as Joshua, Seth, Eagan. And I called Joshua Jeff earlier because I had to deal with my accountant whose name is Jeff, and that's why the Josh thing, but happens all the time. Joshua, you're a great drummer. And I just admire your work. And we've spoke to you with Mark Slaughter in the past, but I'll tell you something. Your wife, Giorgia, Vanni, is such a sweetheart, such a talented woman.
Oh,
Amazing. You were so lucky. You know what I'm saying? You're a lucky gal.
Very.
I'm lucky too. It's such a
Well,
like, it's such a
listen,
beautiful
Giorgia,
person to work
no
with too.
offense. He's luckier in this one. He's much luckier.
No, it's not. It's even.
It's even okay.
Well, you know what? The funny thing is that, we are very different and somehow we're complementary. We complete each other. So
That's right. Here's
both
something
ways.
very interesting. We're all before we got on, we talked about being under lockdown, and most of the work that all of us have to do, no matter who you are, is changed dramatically. It used to be I just walk into a studio, put on the microphone, and that's all I had to do. Now I have to, figure out computers and patching and find different technologies. And then all of a sudden I'm like, well, let's do this video thing to make it more exciting. And then I realized along the way, what I'm missing is a makeup person, because you just can't do TV without the. You guys are from the Hollywood area, you know this. Well, what am I doing here? I got a face for radio, so that's the one thing I learned. What have you guys done to adjust to what's going on during COVID-19?
You take it.
Personally and professionally, like what adjustments have you had to make?
Actually, a couple of things, because you do have to mask, obviously. That was one of the hardest things, I think, in the music industry all around, is that when you're in a band or a recording situation, you're in close proximity. The singers have to sing.
And you're getting up to the microphone like this and this stuff.
Yeah, you can't sing through a mask. So it presents a number of challenges. So pretty much everybody went dark for quite a while. And then as everybody's kind of figured out how to do it little by little, you kind of pair up into your groups where in some ways your core musicians are like your family. The guys and girls you work with, that's like your brothers and sisters. So you all look out for each other. So everybody's very conscious of social distancing. And then if you do have to be in a situation where if somebody is singing in a mic or whatever, then that person's, they've been taking all the precautions and everything. So there's a lot of steps along the way. The studio gets wiped down, literally like a biohazard crew. And everything's cleaned in that, because I've had several friends that almost died from it, the musicians. And a lot of people still don't believe it's real. And I can't.
Well, I keep hearing the numbers are low. I'm like, all right, yeah, statistically low, but you don't want to get it, right? Because we there's so much we don't know about it. So I think it behooves all of us to do the very best. So here's the thing. I've seen people get all upset about the mask because it's some mind control thing. You've heard the various comments. All right. How about this? How about instead of worrying about what you think it might be, just worry about how you're going to live your life and how you're going to affect the people around you, and don't subscribe. If that's the case, then just say you're not subscribing to that. That's not why I'm doing it. I'm doing it to make other people feel safe and secure. That's why you're doing it, for your neighbor. You can also have fun with the mask. You can have different designs on them. You don't have to be boring about it. And then here's one, since we're on the subject of masks, for everybody listening or watching, this is really, really important. You see, surgeons will tell you they wear these things during operations, and it protects the patient more so than anything. But what the surgeon won't tell you is how he or she cares for the mask. If you have a mask and you're futzing with it all day, and you're putting your hands on possibly contaminated surfaces, and then you're touching the mask, or you put the mask down and you put the same one back on, you could get really sick. So be very careful how you use your mask. Just like put it on, don't futz with it. When you're done, wash it or get another one. Simple.
All right.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to put that out there.
No, it's true. I mean, I like I said, I had my hazmat certification. One of my dark secrets. I manufacture military and government supplies for the
Okay.
hazmat and cleanup. I was a hazmat tech.
I was in the Army. I still am. Reserve
That's it.
officer, captain.
I still do it. I had the record label and studio work my whole life, and I've also been a defense contractor.
Oh,
And
wow, that's cool.
we've created all sorts of cleanup supplies, to clean up toxic spills. So I've dealt with the government my whole life, and I used to go out on job sites and clean up myself. I have all the biohazard gear in the garage and all the PPE stuff. And you're right. There's a way to wear a mask that you have to know how to put it on. And we went out the other day for my birthday. We were up went up the coast just a little bit into Solvang and Santa Barbara. And I was really disheartened because people were walking around with no masks. It was just like gathering like it's no big deal. And then we went to El Pollo Loco and had some lunch. And people were in there with a mask like on the chin.
Yeah.
Like,
well, if you're eating, you got to take it off. I get that.
But. Well, no. I mean, they weren't even eating. They were just standing in there ordering, and then people standing around, nobody wearing a mask. And I'm like, there's sort of a thing where you have to figure, okay, if your immune system is great, but God forbid, if you're a carrier, if you have it and you don't know it, you could give it to your mother, your father, your grandparents, or somebody else. And it isn't age specific. It isn't politically specific. I mean, it's all encompassing, people don't realize that you might not get it, but you might give it to somebody else and they might die from it.
Well, I don't know what to say. I don't even know how long this is going to go on for, but I think the psychological damage is probably going to be deep and profound.
Yeah.
I want to talk to Giorgia in just a little bit. And while we're talking about psychological impacts, I want to put this number up. It's 800-273-8255, 800-273-8255. That is the number for the suicide prevention hotline. Suicides throughout the world, especially here in the United States, are off the charts, especially teen suicide. It is, I guess, another epidemic, maybe a pandemic that we have to worry about. What's the root cause? I don't know. I think bullying has a lot to do with it. Kids growing up, not being able to emote properly or channel their emotions, especially if you're indoors all the time, or even how we play sports. So, there's a myriad of issues going on, a lot of unhappy people. And we've seen people from the music industry over the past couple of years take their lives, all levels. Doesn't matter what socioeconomic level you're on. We tend to stigmatize people that are going through mental illness challenges. Even the thing mental illness, I mean, what does that mean? Maybe we got to find better ways to describe it. But by and large, there are people to talk to. You have suicide prevention. Over here in NEWHD, we're working on that. The number again, 800-273-8255, 8255. You can see it there. Also, it's a good thing, talk to your priest, talk to your pastors, talk to your rabbis, talk to your psychologists, talk to some good friends. And if you're listening and someone does approach you and want to talk, don't be judgmental. The only difference between someone who does commit suicide and someone who doesn't, as far as people go, they're no different than you and I. They just made a really bad decision after a series of really bad decisions, or really bad situations. So we all got to do a better job loving thy neighbor. Wearing a mask is one of them, and it's not political. I don't understand how we politicize this. Giorgia, you're from Italy. You're from Rome. Mm-hmm. And I really want to talk about the music, but we sort of stumbled on a very important topic.
Absolutely.
This COVID-19. It was horrible what was going on in places like Venice, one of my favorite places, Rome and northern Italy. I don't know everything that was going on in southern Italy, but you have family that live there. What was that like in the beginning? How are things now? And do you think, are we going to get back to normal so that we can all go to Venice and have lasagna and sea bass? Because that's really important to me.
I hear you. See, this is a very complex question. The way it all started, it's exactly the same way as it started here, like a few cases. And I guess everybody was still kind of trying to understand, like how how do you say that? How contagious this was going to be, right? So, what happened is that for me, in my family there, which actually work, in the medical sector, my sister is a thoracic surgeon and my mother works in a pharmacy. It was like, very terrifying to hear, not only the news, but, like also their stories, about how seriously they started taking it. They had to start wearing masks, and we weren't there at that point yet, here in the United States. And, like they started, taking all the precautions, and, like this sort of like little anxiety started just slowly building up about, how serious this was actually going to be. And, it was scary because I read, of course, the Italian news as well, which, the way we get it here, we do get it. But, when you read the actual, Italian newspaper about, how in the northern Italy, the smaller towns, because we have a lot of, small towns in Italy, like they weren't able to face, the amount of deaths that were happening, to the point that, like, they were literally like piling people on the side of the street because the little cemeteries couldn't even contain the amount of bodies that you had. So that's like freaking saddening. And the fact that I was here and I wasn't really able to be there for my family, like, really broke my heart. Then there's the other side of it, which is, seeing like my Italian fellows like going out in the balcony and working out together and singing songs, social distancing and everything. I saw the news a few times, like Rome was just completely desert. There wasn't literally anybody out. You had like you would get a ticket and like even run the risk of going to jail if you actually left your place without like a paper self-certifying that you were going to work, or like you really needed to get food and stuff like that. When the situation started getting better, I was actually very relieved because I was expecting like the United States to slowly start taking the same course. Everybody was in lockdown, so the virus didn't get to spread, so supposedly it should have been better. But once again, unfortunately, we had a lot of protests. We had, lootings. We had parties, and students that coming out of college that were trying to get their vacation time. So I guess we were not able to manage the situation as well. What happened now, though, is that everybody got too comfortable with it. Everybody was rushing to go back to normal, and now cases are spiking back in Italy again. So
yeah, I guess that's going to be the same here in New Jersey. We're still in stage 2. I get my daughter Sophie; she can explain exactly what stage 2 means. In New York, I think we're in stage 4. I don't know. Listen, I'm just doing the best I can. I've been a disc jockey my whole life. I'm used to being by myself. So for me, this is not really that much of a big deal, but it can wear on you, and it does get to you. But the biggest thing is be busy, be creative, and learn new things. Like after speaking to you, I immediately enrolled in this is crazy. You guys are going to laugh at me, a church Latin class. But
I like that. What's to laugh about that?
It was classical Latin, and I got in a discussion with the professor. I'm like, dude, don't give me Weenie Weenie Weechi. Give me the church Latin, Veni Vini Vici. Everybody else here, they don't need it like I need it. So please do it that way. So
that's hilarious. That's great.
Yeah, so I'd start doing that, and rediscovering certain things on my own. And then I think I have to brush up on my Russian. I'm getting kind of очень плохо about it. So I got to do that. So I'm using my extra time to, do interviews like these, to discover how to use some of the new technology. I bought a new microphone, a Shure 55. Joshua might remember these. These are the old type that Elvis would use in the bandstands. I wish I could bring it over in the shot, but maybe. There you go.
Nice.
Right there. Yeah, I got that.
That's beautiful.
Now I've gotten various rock artists who want to come over to my house to use my various microphones. And I say, no, sorry, COVID-19, you have to buy your own.
Yeah.
All right. Now let's talk about music. Let's talk about the escape that we can all enjoy each and every day. We've got this Bleed for Love track, a great video. I was amazed at how you guys put it together. And I think at one point I was talking to Joshua and Mark about the production of it. You as well, Giorgia. We have the article about the song, including the video, and an earlier interview we did at newhdusa.com. So we still got that, along with Seven Angels, plus a few other things you can find. We're going to play the video, but I want to talk about the recording of this video because it was finished, from what I remember, right before COVID-19, right? And then you did the video while we're starting to get under lockdown. So take us through the process of writing, recording, and then creating the video, and then we'll play the video.
Absolutely. So, like the way everything starts, is, at least for me as an artist in my writing process, is that I'd be just doing like anything at all. I can be cooking, I can be showering, or I can be like walking. And, sometimes, my mind is very scattered. I'm always thinking about, multiple things at all times. I know it's hard to deal with, but also, it's part of being, creative, I guess. And so, sentences, lines, or melodies would just, come up to me. And I think that Josh has pretty much the same thing. Just the other day, like, you run down the stairs and he's going like, oh, I just came up with something great. So
I could chew gum and walk.
Yeah, I can make the stair sounds into beats for a song.
Yeah. So what happens is that, I have like this little collection of lyrics and riffs that I would record on my phone, or like I would write down on my phone. And, then slowly, like, they start, when I really have like something that I really like, I kind of start patching it together. It's sort of like a puzzle, and I found out what,
Well, she goes into Georgia land.
That's how he calls it.
Okay.
She got you kind of start seeing this happening. Then she's off in the corner and she's got like her iPad out and she's on GarageBand with the headphones and the guitars plugged in. All of a sudden it's like, hun. Oh, she's.
That's called multi-thread processing. That's what computers do.
Yeah.
A walking computer. Good for you. You can do that.
And like, once I get into that, it's actually very hard for me to stop focusing on it. Like I would just get so focused in what I'm doing. It's like I call everything else white noise. It's like everything that is in the background that I still have like sort of a perception of, but it's just, it's just white noise. It just fades in the background.
Do you ever get stuck trying to order coffee when you're a polyglot, when you speak more than one language? Like for me, it's very difficult for me to even order a cup of coffee. So the reason why I'm asking is because of all the thinking that you're going on at the same time. Do you ever get stuck? I do all the time. I get stuck. I'm like, I forgot what I was looking for in the refrigerator. And in 5 minutes, I still forgot. What am I doing in this room? Or if I try to order just a coffee, I get café au lait avec sucre or something like that. It's like everything but English. I just get all confused. Does that happen to either one of you or both?
Yeah, a little bit. What happens with me is that I'm having like a hard time switching from Italian to English or vice versa.
Yes.
Because now, like, the way I'm thinking now, I used to think in Italian, logically, I was born in Italy, so that's my main thing. But now I switched. So I actually dream in English and I think in English first. So now when, like, if I meet somebody that is like from Italy and like they would start talking to me in Italian just to be nice, but I'm still in an English context, like there will still be Josh or like other friends around, I just have a hard time speaking. But like even the accent, right? Because in Italy you have different dialects. So I would start getting like a weird English sort of accent. Like I'm not really comfortable with speaking in Italian at that right moment, because in that moment I'm wired to speak in English.
Yeah, you're speaking New York Italian.
A little,
right? Basically what that is. Yeah.
Josh,
so I can fully appreciate the different dialects. I mean, we have that here in America. As I look out the window as an example, there's a girl walking down the road with blue hair and walking a little poodle. Very interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So an example of how multi-thread thinking goes on. And I'm just like, that's very curious, would make a nice photo, probably a song as well. What about in creating your music? I would imagine that when, you spent years thinking of the Italian influence in Rome, especially in Rome, I can only imagine, with the Gregorian chants and all of those things, and the ancient Roman ways that are part of the DNA and the blood, and even some of the Roman Greco combinations.
Mm-hmm.
How hard was that for you to make the transition when you came to the United States to start putting together your rock songs in English?
It was actually super easy because
No,
no, it's not because I'm like super talented or anything like that. Not at all. It's
No,
just
you are,
I've always been like into rock music. You know, my father
Oh.
used to listen to it. My father used to listen to Pink Floyd in the car, Sade,
Oh, poor dad.
Alanis Morissette. But like,
I just got to interject. She's probably one of the most intelligent people I've ever met. And I mean this seriously. I mean, she's playful and giddy and everything, but she's genuinely on a deep level.
Yes.
Very intelligent and in tune. She can pick things up at a rate that is I've never seen. If she looks at something, she'll learn it instantly. You know, we'll be in Pro Tools and I'm like, going, oh, no, she watched me do it. She knows how to do it. She sits there. She knows how to run Pro Tools in and out, all the editing.
What kind of business guy are you? We're supposed to make that look difficult for people.
I tried. I just looked at it when I go, you get nowhere near the drums.
I got a confession about multi-digital track recording. I'll get an order from my boss to do some ID, and it might be a 20-second piece, and he'll go add a play-by-play in it, and then you usually put some music underneath. And I could do it literally in 5 minutes. I can do a voiceover for a 60-second spot within 2 minutes and have it all together. That's really not a good idea because then people don't think they get them. So what I do is I don't get it done right away. I sit there and do whatever I want to do. And about 5 to 10 minutes before I leave, I assemble it. And I get some music bed from a production company that I have a deal with. And I pretend like I actually, stuck the drums in just at the right time. I do know what music to pick. I'm like really good at that. It's like something up here. I know, and I can craft it, and I can, take that 3 minutes and make it into 25 seconds. And then I send it to him and then I add a little compression. He's like, man, that is just awesome. There's nobody in the world that can do that. I fully appreciate, and I act like it's a gigantic production. So Joshua, let me just tell you how you
do realize you just confessed to the crime on video.
That's what I was.
Let me just tell you this. He'll never watch it because he only thinks I'm good at one thing. So I don't even have to worry about it. And anybody that I work with would never watch this because I don't tell them what I'm up to.
Right.
So, and by the time it comes out, I'll probably be a multi-millionaire, billionaire, something like that. I'll be like Tony Stark living in Malibu. So don't worry about it.
Damn right.
But Joshua, man, you got to you're breaking the engineer code by, letting people learn it too fast. It's unfortunate for you that Giorgia is so smart and can just watch and learn so instantly. Good for you. Yeah, that's pretty impressive.
Yeah, but it presents a little different set of problems because then she's really quick at picking up things. You
got the look and the side eye.
She's really quick at picking up things, but there's certain things along the way you do because there's a progression, to why you would do a certain thing in a mix or to why stylistically you do a certain thing. And that comes into a production thing of, if you're going into a certain idiom of music that you want to be kind of true stylistically to that music. So there's a lot of backstory to if you're going to play a certain rock than classic rock, or if it's more funk or R&B or, each thing has a whole history to it. And as a musician, coming from my background, I've had to study all of these idioms. So there's a reason why you wouldn't play this there, or, There's certain things.
I get you. It's an ebb and flow, and there's method to the madness. There's a formula to everything.
And everything presents a little sometimes, but she's really incredibly intuitive and quick on picking up on things, which does make it better. I actually learned to step back when we're editing or we're comping and things. Take it. I'm on the couch. I'll be fiddling on my phone, and she's over there on Pro Tools, and she's doing it, and she's nailing it. She's incredibly artistic and talented, and I have confidence where I can just step back and let her do it because she does know what she's doing. So then at the end, then I have to go.
Well, I like that.
It's hard.
You can let her do all the work and take the credit.
Well. at the end of it, though, the
I
hard
mean,
part.
yeah, exactly. If you're the producer and the engineer, you can go, well, she helped out a little bit, but yeah, that was mine. I was George Martin on that, right?
Well,
Okay.
it's interesting though, because even in the writing process, she'll come up with stuff, and every once in a while, there's, forgive me.
No, I'm glad that you're getting back to it.
For every once in a while, there's a real stinker in there, and I kind of go, I hear a couple of things going, oh, that's really good, and then,
oh yeah.
But most of the time, they're really good. You hear something, and immediately, like there's one on Bleed for Love, she had written that the line, and had sort of just a sketch of it. And it stuck in my brain, and she didn't like it. She was like, no, and she was now, and I was going, no, that's really good. I go, that's got a great hook to it. And I'm already hearing, 20 steps down the line. No, the production end of it, we could do this. And so it's kind of good to bounce off each other where there's ideas, and she'll bring things in that are really hip. And sometimes she knows there, and sometimes she might not actually see that, she's too close to doing it, that how good the ideas are. But she's brilliant when she sits down and she goes, I'm going to focus on a song. I mean, literally, I could go upstairs and, go on the computer or practice for an hour or two or whatever, go to the market, and I come back in an hour. She's got the tune, all in form. And I mean, it's amazing how quickly that thought process happens.
How long did it take you to write Bleed for Love, Giorgia?
No, it actually took a long time. As he was saying, the song that I had wasn't like really what it ended up being. It was like very much, it was still sassy, like a very sassy song, but like it was very pop the way I wrote it down. The lyrics were too busy. There was just like a lot going on. And like when I heard it, I was like, this is not hitting me. This is sounding a little childish to my ears, to my ears. And then Josh came in, and like it just insisted on this riff. He really, really loved this riff. And I love how he said that, like when you sit on something for too long, you start losing perspective. It's a metaphor that I really like, because I also love drawing. I'm an artist. And, like when you put down a sketch, right? And I don't know, maybe you're like drawing a face or something. If you spend like a few hours on that drawing, you're going to start missing the perspective. You're not going to start seeing the mistakes because you just got used to that picture. Or like, it's like listening to a mix, right? If you listen to it too many times, you get married to the mix. So that's why you don't want to like over listen to stuff sometimes. So what Josh does is that he comes in and he brings his perspective in, which is just so, it's so brilliant, It just kind of eyes on things.
Let's play Bleed for Love right now. We got Mark Knopfler. Why do I do that? Slaughter.
I love it.
You get up there when you start calling people the wrong name. That's like a sign of it, you're losing it. But Mark Slaughter on guitar.
Love it.
Bleed for Love. And who knows, maybe Mark Knopfler down the road.
Exactly.
I don't know what to say. I swear I tried in every way to keep my promise to change. Don't know if you can relate. Took a while to be myself. I can't give up on who I am. I can change for you. I'm sorry, I told you I could. It's too late to bleed for love. Too late, no way to rise above. There's nothing left to say. Got no more dues to pay. It's too late to bleed for love. I'm not the one you should blame. I swear I tried in every way to be that girl that you claim. Yet it's always the same. You wanna do this for display. You can lock up and put away. I can change for you. I'm sorry I told you
Oh, that is a great video. I like the end where you're flipping everybody off with the. I like the two.
Everybody likes the end. I think it's very
Of
Italian.
course. Yes, it's very Italian, or the English, like that, right?
I had to laugh. I think the
Put some
spider's
English on that.
car at this point,
What's that?
I said, I think the spider's still in the car at this point. I'm watching the
really?
video.
That's a great video. It's fun to watch. It's it's got a lot of attitude. It's really a good rocker. You know, I think I have a TV station out in Fresno that might play that too. But we do play it on NEWHD. We play your song in a regular rotation. I like it a lot. Just I think a nice masterpiece. Well done. Love the video. I mean, what's not to like about it, especially the attitude where you're flipping everybody off at the end.
Exactly. Why not?
That's good stuff. What's your next project as you're thinking about what you want to do next?
So I'm very excited that you asked this question because we actually our record is actually done. We're just waiting a minute to release it because we're gonna dedicate a little time on promoting a few singles before we do that. But like in this quarantine time, we came up with a song that we are really, really loving, which is a ballad. And we are probably thinking about inserting it in the record and probably release that as a next song.
That's good.
It might be the next single. The record was pretty well done. We were in mastering and getting the codes embedded and all the stuff. And we're ready to release. And, and like when we talk with Jody, everything would be every 8-10 weeks, that sort of rotation on a release until a 4 out or so, and then we'll prop the whole record. But this tune kind of came out of nowhere, and it's like, whoa, really good. So Giorgia came in and did, we put the scratch guitars down, and she did her scratch vocal, and I put the drums down, and then Jesse from Seven Angels came in and played bass yesterday and absolutely annihilated it. It was incredible. So all I can say is if you could imagine Giorgia singing with Alice in Chains, it's
like Rooster, like
sort of like Rooster,
a little bit like a very slow, chill, vibey type of rock song.
It's very sort of rock and like an Alice in Chains, but Giorgia. It's definitely Giorgia, but it's rock, and it's nice.
Here comes the rooster. Oh yeah, I could see it. I can hear it. Yeah,
but that's
got a great song.
Like this throaty sort of Janis Joplin thing when she gets up there, and she was singing her scratch yesterday, and her voice was, this is just a scratch. Like we're going, we're going to replace it. But she was killing it going up. Just nailing it. And it sounded so good. And her voice was that whiskey voice going on. I'm like, well, those might be the tracks, that might be the vocal.
My advice to you guys is save everything you do and catalog it real well.
Yeah.
Because I was blown away by the fact that I interviewed Jimmy Page, and we were talking about the catalog, and Jimmy Page is talking about specifics of recordings, Led Zeppelin 1, 2, 3, and 4, which I made fun of them because they were like, come on, couldn't come up with better names for albums. As he's telling me all of the things that are going on and how he remembers track by track and where it was stored, and if you looked around my office here, there's no rhyme or reason to how I collect things. I guess I could find it if I have to look for it. I definitely want to lose all my tax information. But, I know his history. I know he did lots of drugs. And I'm thinking to myself, how can I get this? Is the nonverbal meme, the thought in my head while I'm sitting there. I'm like, all right, if a guy who was taking that many drugs, and he's sober now, he admits, and he's clean and sober, that's great. I'm thinking to myself, I was never on drugs, and I can't keep myself together. I'm in trouble. But what amazed me about Jimmy was, his attention to detail, even when he wasn't in the right mind, or maybe someone helped him out. But I just thought about how important it is especially if you're a musician like you guys, and you have professional recordings out there, save everything. And
have to,
make sure that you save it in formats that will be playable 30 years from now. Because now, talk about Pro Tools, guys. I was probably went as far as back as Pro Tools 4. How about that? All right. Before TDM. and we were told we didn't have a lot of space. So we had to get these external glyph drives, and they had to be fast, 8,000 RPMs. Remember that?
Yeah, yeah.
And remember when you were like going 250 megabytes? You thought that was great? Yeah, all right. So this is where we're getting at. So I had these DVD recording things. They're in cartridges. I can't even explain what they are. Took all the sessions of all the stuff I had. I mean, interviews that were irreplaceable of the most famous rock stars you can ever imagine, rendered rendered obsolete. I can't get the information. So I kicked myself in the ass. I should have taped everything. You know, I should have like put it on cassette or on some sort of tape. So every once in a while, for whatever reason, I'll let an artist know. I'm like, hey, make sure you catalog all your stuff. Be very precise. Safeguard it from fires, all of that stuff. Because you just really got to be, you know, you got to guard it with your life. It's treasure.
Well, and now I think, you know, our generation was different. We didn't have, it was so hard to do anything, you know, from cataloging things to taking photos. You know, we all were growing up. How many pictures did we have growing up as kids? You know,
well, listen, I'd like to burn some of those pictures, to be honest with you.
Yeah, exactly. The ones I had were horrible, you know, but you had like, oh, picture day at school. You know, now a kid can snap 10,000 selfies in a week, you know, and for me, I might have 10 pictures of my whole childhood, you know, and it's just a different thing. And it was sort of musically that way. You had the 2-inch, you know, and those 2 inches, that was it. And it was very limited because even up until later, or for many years into music, it was 1/2 inch, and it would get a little bigger. You had 4-track, 8-track.
Yeah, and then down the master mix down the 1/4 inch Ampex. 456, right?
And the tapes, you know, after a certain amount of time, they degrade. You know,
yeah, they fall apart. I still have that issue today. So it's like no matter what you did, you lost.
You got to.
Now, I'll give you another example, guys. Think about Goat's Head Soup and those 2 Rolling Stones songs.
It's expensive too. You take them in and bake them, and then you got to get them dumped immediately onto digital or whatever and back them up.
Yeah, Georgia, because they disintegrate as you go along. It's like
you're watching the tape coming off. You know, all the magnetic particles coming off on the head
right.
It's a different idiom now where you can, but you have to back up, because if your computer crashes, and it will, you know, or a hard drive, or you get a stray piece of data, you could be totally screwed and lose that session. So you need
and especially on digital, you'll get the file back all right, but here's what it'll sound like. I hate that. Look at this.
You get static clocks, and
Welcome to Guy Talk with Giorgia, Joshua, and Zach. We're talking about stuff that nobody cares about, but still very interesting, though. I mean, the idea of, you know, you have to pay attention to what's going on around you. I mean, whether, you know, we like it or not, you take the extra steps.
There has to be that one guy or girl that's, you know, overseeing kind of, you know, globally in their head. They're watching everything from a farther back perspective, going, oh, do this. They have to be anal, and oh, you have to do this, make sure we do this. And I know with Zeppelin it was Andy Johns.
All right, see, I didn't know that. He never told me that.
Well,
I'm sitting there across from him. You know?
Well, you could mention Andy. Andy used to come by our studio a lot. A very dear guy. I loved him. I was just heartbroken when he passed a few years back. And Andy's brother did the first couple. Andy did, like, you know, a lot of them was Stairway to Heaven and that, you know, when they recorded that, and he was telling me the stories of how they did it. And John, you know, with a couple microphones, they were on a landing in a mansion. You know, he was telling me a story. I think it was that Mick Jagger offered him the studio to record at, and then it was too much. They didn't want to spend the money, and they found this house in England.
Headley Grange or something like that. I forget the name of it.
And he had a landing, and that's where they put the drums up.
And then, right near the stairway, and they had the tie lines going in. And at one point, you know, there's a black dog walking across, and they come up with the title Black Dog, which is not, you know, really I asked John Paul Jones this. I go, dude, when you were putting your albums together, what the heck was Houses of the Holy doing on Physical Graffiti when it should have been on Houses of the Holy? He goes, well, we didn't think much of that, about that kind of stuff. I go, no kidding. Led Zeppelin 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then years later, I realized that Led Zeppelin 1 and a lot of 2 there were Led Zeppelin cover songs. In other words, they covered Willie Dixon and Howlin' Wolf and all of these cats and made it into their own, which is a total different discussion to go into one of these days. That I always ask, hey, when did you realize that Led Zeppelin was a cover band? Now, when I talk that way to Robert Plant, he gets kind of upset with me. He'll go, they're not covers, they're interpretations. I'm like, oh, okay. But it's always fascinating to look at what other people are doing, not to, say that we want to be like that, which is nothing wrong with that. You don't want to lose yourself. So, and I don't know, Giorgia, maybe this is part of what makes you who you are, listening to the Pink Floyd, the Sade, which there's no R in SADE. So how do you get that R sound? Anybody know? No,
I personally don't, but
yeah, nobody knows. I've that always, as a disc jockey, I'd look at the label, go, how am I going to say this? Same thing with Bono back in the day. Is it Bono or Bono? Go ahead.
Sorry, no, it's just parts of the languages, like some things are just funny, like we have some sounds in Italian, like GN, that we say nya, they're very specific, I still laugh because you guys say squirrel, right? And I couldn't say when I first came out here because it's like, it's not even a word. Like you have a lot of consonants, like the way it's written, there's an S, there's
it's not even a word.
R, L. There's a lot of stuff going on, but you just crashing into the squirrel sound. And I'm just going, and I came out here and I was squirrel. I was like, that was the word for me. I'm going like,
yeah, I say silent S, right? It's a different vowel sound.
I know.
I always like diphthongs myself. Those are always fun to try to master. But then if you went to Russia, you got no vowels at all. Everything's a consonant. So good luck with that, and good luck in learning that Cyrillic. Confuses me.
Good luck singing that.
Well, listen. Here's something you probably do not know about this, but if you ask older guys who were in Europe, maybe guys with the Scorpions. Which there's a picture of me with the Scorpions. I have no idea where or when that took place. I don't even remember the night, but there I was having a good time. A thing called Radio Free Europe, right? Radio Free Europe. I love telling these stories. Radio Free Europe transmitted out of the English Garden in Munich. And I was there and I never realized that it was that close to Radio Free Europe because of REM. Remember that? Radio Free Europe, that song. And then I started to like investigate this stuff. So there's this cat who grew up in Hungary. His name is Leslie Manduki. You ever heard of Manduki? Leslie Manduki, amazing, right? Grew up in Hungary in the behind the Iron Curtain, and listened to that Radio Free music and was inspired by American music, and it made it part of who he was. And he took some of that from Hungary and living up in the communist country, and then with the freedom. Now he lives on a lakeside over there in München, Bayern, and has a lot of great friends and is really active musically. I mean, what was the music to you growing up as a little girl when you would hear that American music in Rome? Because I know when I was in Venice, I saw some of the American music channels brought to you or English by Virgin, and that's when I saw the news breaks where you guys took a rainstorm and made it into a typhoon going through Venice. You had a snowstorm through the Alps and you made it into a blizzard. And I'm like, I went through both of these, and that wasn't a blizzard, and this is not a typhoon, but you guys are making it sound like both. I just find that fascinating culturally, the difference.
Well, there's definitely a difference because you guys here are used to, like literally blizzards and,
fires.
These huge fires that, oh my God, we're just going through that right now. I know. And, hurricanes.
It's black outside, right?
It's too funny, right?
Can't even breathe. The sky's black and there's fires everywhere. We're like,
and like hurricanes and flooding and God only knows what, tsunamis there, just throwing in there, earthquakes. And I have to say, Italy, geographically speaking, is like placed in like this great position, so we don't really like get any of these like extreme weather conditions. But we do have like different infrastructures, which means that, like being Venice, a very old city, medieval, is like, if you do get the flooding, that starts becoming a problem because you're not dealing with anything that is like, 100 years old or 200, like you're like literally speaking, we go back like, 2000 years there. So, the little things actually start summing up. For example, like,
Yeah. Old St. Mark is going by again.
Well, for example, we, like, we had Abruzzo that, like, just in recent times just got like half destroyed by an earthquake that was like about, I think it was at 4 point something, and we just had like a 4.6 here in the United States, here in California. Sorry, like about what I would say 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, 2 weeks ago. Yeah, I heard about
Yeah,
that.
and like I woke up and like it was really, really shaking, but like nothing like major happened.
I think it was in the 5s in Abruzzo, though. I think.
Was it? Maybe it was.
But it destroyed so much of it because of the old architecture.
Yeah, it's
Right.
like unfortunately we can't handle things. So let's put it that way. Let's just say.
Well, I will. My criticism of people from California, when you're out there and you think it's your blood pressure medicine, and you realize that you're having a little bit of an earthquake and it's a 3 or 4, and you're not used to it, you're like, dude, man, just calm down. It wasn't like it was an 8 or 9. I'm like, hey, you ever see a mugging in New York? I mean, oranges and lemons.
It's
you know what I'm saying? It'd be annoying if you're not from California. I was there last year, and I was at Universal. Soph, what was the name of that place downtown where I got hit in the head? City Walk. I was at City Walk at Bubba Gump, which I'm a mistaken selection, but I was sitting there, and this big, gigantic metal model of a Harley Davidson hit me right in the head, really hard.
Wow.
And
How'd that happen?
so that, well, you had a tremor earlier in the day, so it must have loosened it, right? So I said to the waiter, I go, look, I realize I'm not from California, but I do know that you have tremors on a regular basis. So I would suggest not having heavy objects on shelves, whether you glue them or otherwise,
Oh
where they
man.
can fall off and hit you in the head. So, I think they picked up the check because they were worried about I was going to sue, but I'm not that kind of guy. I don't sue people. I don't really care. But yeah, man, I got whacked in the head big time. But I had to explain to people of California how you don't put heavy objects on high shelves because you have so many tremors. Little insight from someone not from the area.
Oh yeah. Well, you have to either strap down, some of the things. You kind of have to play ahead. Like we have some heavy mirrors. They're triple into the wall,
Right.
And then you put a molly in.
Yeah, I get the mollies in there. Yeah, mollies are a big thing out west.
All I can say is I went through the Northridge one and then the Landers after that. And at 4 something in the morning when it kicked in, you couldn't stand up. I mean, there was an earthquake and then there's this. And I was living down by LAX when it happened. And I mean, literally the floor was just short of being almost liquid. It was this.
Yeah, it can liquefy. Yeah, that's what can
And
happen.
it was about a minute. It was.
That's a long time for an earthquake.
Man, I'll tell you, and I was looking for the cat. I had a little Himalayan. I was trying to grab him, and he's sitting in the window like this, and the windows are bowing like this. And I'm going, like, dude, I'm trying to get him, and he finally split. And it was like, literally, when it was all done, I came out. It was a townhouse. The main stairs of the building looked like a corkscrew. They had twisted all the way up, and a lot of my friends, their homes were just pancaked.
See, I just don't understand the allure of California. You got mudslides and fires and earthquakes, and it never rains. And then when it does rain, it's like a deluge, and crazy stuff going on.
Well, it's a weird thing because we think the same thing. We think the same thing of like, why are we doing this? But then the music. Well, it used to be better before, but you had the music industry, the entertainment community, and what we like to do. We would go to Magic Mountain. We go walking.
Yeah, Magic Mountain's cool. Yeah.
We have passes. We go membership there. We go to the Huntington. There's so many cool things you can do. Like my birthday the other day, we decided, well, we were originally going to go to San Diego Zoo, but it would have been too far of a drive, too early to get down there because it just started opening again. We went, okay, well, we took a drive up to Solvang. They have the Dutch village up there 2 hours away. She got to pet ostriches and feed them, and then we went out and we went down to Santa Barbara and we had a beautiful dinner, literally right off the beach, and it was 70 degrees and the ocean air coming in, the seagulls flying. You go, that's it. For
I get you. Like
you
for me,
know.
it's Santa Monica. Going to the end of the pier, you realize you're in Fukushima water, and you're on the you're on the. I can't go. I'm like Fukushima water. You know, my wife and kid will go, but it's good for us. I'm like Fukushima. You know, you're on the
a lot of truth
Ferris wheel.
With three-headed fish. You
Yeah.
know?
Hey, it worked for The Simpsons. And then, you know, there's nothing better to me than Disneyland. That's a great place. And downtown Disney, I will say this. I like restaurants. Downtown Disney has really good restaurants.
Yeah.
You don't have to go all over the place in the Los Angeles area to find good restaurants. All you need to do is go to downtown Disney. And then the other place I really like that you have to go to Pink's. And one time someone asked me, what's LAX like? And I said, LAX is Newark without palm trees. Newark, New Jersey.
Yeah, it's really busy.
It really is. It's like nothing. But I'll tell people, oh yeah, you want to stay in the LAX area for sure.
Oh man,
Yeah.
I live down
Same
there
thing
now.
in Newark. Yeah, go to Newark.
It was funny because El Segundo, I lived right next to it for years. I was right off Imperial Highway, right by the runways, but I was.
That's kind of fun. Yeah.
No, that kind of sucked. You know, it was like you get the diesel fuel off, you know, the jet fuel. You have JP48, you know, Jet A, whatever. All the fuels coming in, and then you had the Hyperion plant right down the street. So if the airport didn't smell bad enough, you had the sewage treatment plant right next to the ocean. And the sad part was, right where you're at, it was just to the north of us is, you know, Santa Monica, Venice, Marina del Rey, Playa del Rey, all beautiful. Then you have LAX. Then you have El Segundo, which is incredibly expensive. And El Segundo is the most expensive city, I believe, in California. It used to be, because it was like something like 50 of the Fortune 500 top companies of the world are there. Raytheon, Boeing, Northrop. I mean, they have cities underground there, you know, with all the defense contract and stuff. So when the riots broke out in 92, guess where the tanks went? El Segundo. They were protecting that because that's all corporate, Chevron, all the stuff that's there. So anyways, so that's there. And that's like this little kind of stink box. You got the airport and the plant. Then right next to it is Manhattan Beach, which is like paradise. But you had this one little thing. It was like, if the airport's not going to get you, you know, it's like
totally understand. And that's why New Jersey gets a bad rap, because it really is LAX without the palm trees. Especially in the airport area, not so much in the northwest.
Ocean City, Egg Harbor area.
Well, that's way down south. That's fine. They're like more like Philadelphia people. They're kind of weird. It's like being on another planet. But regardless of whether you're in California, New Jersey, New York, there's nowhere on earth better and prettier and more exciting to me than Rome. And that's where we end our interview with Giorgia Vanni and Joshua Eagan. And on the way out, we're going to play Bleed for Love one last time. So thank you very much for spending time with us. It's always fun to get to talk to you. We'll do it again real soon. Maybe we'll debut that ballad that you have coming out, because I'd love to hear that. We'll make sure we could. All right. Thank you very much.
I don't know what to say. I swear I tried in every way to keep my promise to change. Don't know if you can relate. Took a while to be myself, I can't give up on who I am. I can change for you.